Assalamu alaikum, shalom, hotep, peace to the family. This is part 3 of the Ghetto Gods and Goddesses book. We're coming from a chapter in the book, and we're going to pick up basically where we left off yesterday. I'm going to open up in a brief prayer, if you don't mind. In the most holy name of the Supreme Allah God, who appeared in the person of the Master Fard Muhammad. His is the name of Almighty Allah, whom I praise and whom we praise. In the name of his first, last, and only messenger, I openly testify that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the first, last, and only messenger of Allah God Sakim in person. And I bear witness that the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan, Salas Muhammad, Jeremiah Shabazz, Father Allah, and countless others are 5%ers, students of the Master Teacher, Master Fard Muhammad, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. O Allah, let us die not unless it's in the state of Islam, struggling for peace, truth, freedom, justice, and equality. Amen. Allahu Akbar, family. There is no mystery God. Surely the black man is God. We're going to pick up where we left off. Yesterday, I mentioned something. I'm the type, I don't like giving you stuff from the messenger unless I can show and prove it instead of showing and telling it. So I had mentioned that I believed it was Savior's Day 1969. I just want you to know that I checked into it and it was Savior's Day 1969. However, what I want to do is read for you word for word what the messenger said in that Savior's Day 1969 about the reality of God, how that first God created himself. The point that we was making, someone, an MGT, according to Pastor Geno Jennings, said that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that God created himself in triple darkness from a blood clot, and it was spinning around in outer space. That person, nor Pastor Jennings, can give you the quote where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that. Why? Because in 44 years, he never taught or said any spooky nonsense like that. So that's a straw man's argument. That's not the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You have to come with actual facts, okay? Now, you have to understand, in the Nation of Islam's jargon, when we talk about God, sometimes we're talking about an individual black man. Sometimes we're talking about Master Fard Muhammad. Sometimes we're talking about the mind of man. Sometimes we're talking about Al-Khaliq or the Creator. So you have to understand the teachings in context, okay? Now, if someone was to ask me, did the black man create himself in outer space, spinning around as a blood cell? In my brain, I'd be like, what did you talk about? Like, it's so unmathematical. It's so anti-Islam. It's so spooky what you're saying that I could take the time and teach it to you for like an hour, 10 hours, 6 years, 10 years, 7 years, whatever. But the short version is, think about it for a minute. If you put any blood, animal blood, human blood, if you put blood in outer space, do you know how cold it is in outer space? It's not going to spin. If it's spinning, what's causing it to spin? What is the gravitational pull from the earth or the moon or the sun? Now, you got to understand mathematics. You got to understand Islam. Now, that's spooky. Now, that's not the teachers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We don't believe that kind of crap. Now, and I'm saying to you, I'm saying it now because somebody can prove it. That somebody can prove me wrong. Quote the messenger on it. I'm saying to you, nowhere in the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad does he teach us that type of creation of the Creator. It just doesn't even make sense. But what he does teach us in the theology of time, what Master Fard Muhammad teaches us in our lessons, is the short version is this. The sun which is 93 million miles away, 150 million kilometers, is 78 trillion years old. The age of the Earth, according to Messenger Elijah Muhammad, now saves arrived in 1974, is 76 trillion years old. He teaches us that the physical man was on this earth for 76 trillion years, okay? A piece of the sun broke off and formed our earth. Our earth and our sun, the sun is 108 times larger than our earth, according to Master Farah Muhammad in 99 Actual Facts. So it's just certain facts, certain realities, certain mathematics that contradicts anything where physical man is spinning around in space somewhere. I mean, it's just so spooky. It shows your lack of understanding of the mathematics of the solar system, our galaxy, our universe. I mean, our solar system is 30 million square miles, 30 million miles. Our galaxy, 157 quintillion miles. Our universe, 2,679,785. We know that stuff in our head. That's in our lessons, our blessings, okay? So let me take you to what Messenger Elijah Muhammad said on page 29. On the title is this: The Knowledge of God Himself. Savior's Day, February the 26th, 1969, page 29, published at Savior's Day on February 26, 1974. I'm giving you the actual facts. I'm telling you exactly where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this. Alright? So you can't argue at me unless you're arguing with Messenger Elijah Muhammad's original divine and direct teachings. Alright? Now, let's go into this. Alright. Now this is where, according to Pastor Geno Jennings, a sister gave him some misinformation and he ran with it. And he just had fun with it. Now I mean, it's like, I seen a video of him debating with Brother Minister Rodney Muhammad. To give Brother Minister Rodney Muhammad his credit, he dropped some jewels on the man. It's just, a lot of people look at, oh, Rodney left out this thing. But if you listen to what Rodney dropped, he really was like, there's no room for debate. I wouldn't have left. Now, I mean, I understand Pastor Geno J. That gave him a loophole to segue off of, if you will. But Rodney really dropped some jewels on. He explained to him about the origins of religions and the worldview, if you will. Like, we could be here all day with that kind of stuff. But when you hear about triple darkness, you got to understand it in context. Now, I mean, is you talking about the physical man? Is you talking about the mind of man? If you talking about that first Adam or whatever? But let me give Pastor Geno Jennings and the general audience the quotes directly from Messenger Elijah Muhammad on what he teaches, not what I teach, not what I believe. Word for word, this is what the message teaches us about how came that first guy. And again, I said yesterday that the messenger thing is no one knows. The messenger don't know. Master Farah Muhammad don't know. The 24 scientists don't know. The angels don't know. The FOI don't know. The MG. So for some MGT or whatever, according to him, that claim to know, that right there was the spooky stuff. That right there. All right, let's look at this. This is what the messenger says, word for word. How came the black God, Mr. Muhammad? How came the black God, Mr. Muhammad? He is self-created. How could self create self? Now here's the messenger. Take your magnifying glass and start looking at these little atoms out here in front of you. You see they are egg-shaped and they are oblong. You crack them open and you will find everything in them that you find out here. Then were there some of them atoms out here? Well, who created them? I want you to accept the black God. You say there is no beginning or ending. I admit that. The messenger said, quote, I admit that. But we do know that they had to have some kind of beginning. So here you have something doing nothing. And the messenger is explaining, well, how did the energy produce that first atom is basically what the question is. How did the material manifest from the immaterial? How did the mental manifest the material plane? That's basically what we're saying when we say, how did God self-create himself? Like, how did the creator not just produce the creation, but how did the creator self-create himself? There's no creation, but we want to know, how did the creator create himself? How did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala create himself? How did Yahweh produce himself? No one knows. I don't know. I admit, I don't know. No Christian knows. No Baptist, no atheist knows. When you hear scientists talking about energy, and they be like, okay, how did the energy produce the material universe? How did the energy spark hydrogen and helium to produce our sun that produced and germinated the earth and dried up the earth to 71% of water and produced life on this planet? We don't know. You don't know. The devil don't know. No one knows. The gods, the black men don't know. No one knows. They are afraid to tell you the truth. The truth is there are X factors. The ever expanding universe. We don't know how long it's going to expand. We don't know where it ends. We don't know. We don't know when you physically die. Ain't no one ever came back and told us that there's a heaven after death. So what we deal with is what we know. And we admit what we don't know. That's the truth. The truth has to be polarity. See, the Kabbalah and the seven universal laws. Now, I mean, you can't have truth without falsehood. You can't have a no without an unknown. You can't have truth without falsehood, a God without a devil, a proton without an electron. You can't have darkness without light. You can't have life without death. You can't have a male without a female. You can't have old without young, rich without poor. That's just the dichotomy of the universe. Anybody goes against that universal law is lying to you. Okay, let us go on. The messenger said, I'm going to read that again, the whole thing. How came the black God, Mr. Muhammad? He is self-created. How could self create self? Take your magnifying glass and start looking at these little atoms out here in front of you. You see that they are egg-shaped and they are oblong. You crack them open and you will find everything in them that you find out here. Then, well, there's some of them atoms out here. Well, who created them? I want you to accept the black God. You say there's no beginning or ending. I admit that. But we do know that they had to have some kind of beginning. Now, here's the messenger's answer. Listen up. But how it happened, we don't know. How it happened, we don't know. Now, here's a FOI. Here's an MGT. Here's a lieutenant. Here's a captain. Here's a minister. I know. No, you don't, liar. The messenger don't know. Master Muhammad don't know. I don't know. The angels don't know. Study the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We don't know. So anybody that's teaching you that they know the origin of Al-Khalid, that's the Arabic term for the, Al means the, Khalid means creator. They're telling you that they who are part of creation knows how the creator created himself. They lying. We say he has no beginning or ending. He's the Alpha and Omega, he's beginning and end of all things. How can anything, not anyone, anything, how can a fish in the ocean know? How can a man on a planet, a woman on a planet, a bird in the air, something in alien in outer space? No one knows. Okay? That is simply the reality. The messenger said, but how it happened, we don't know. That's why we say that his beginning, we don't know anything about. Imagine. Now the messenger downgrade takes to a science. He's like, okay, we don't know. Now we can imagine stuff. I mean, we can surmise, we can extrapolate on what we do know. I mean, we can take and use the mathematics that we do know to derive to what we don't know. Okay, so Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. He said, imagine. You close your eyes now. See, you notice how I always tell people close your eyes to see. The messenger said, quote, you close your eyes, because now you say, okay, I want to get into that God mind now. Then you got to take away the material universe, because that first God, he didn't have no atoms. He didn't have no motion. He didn't have time, light, life, space, dimension, weight, none of that. But he had himself, that consciousness, that mind, that infinite mind, that ability to manifest thought. That is what we're using to extrapolate from the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that we do have. Okay. Imagine, you close your eyes now. Imagine the whole entire visibility of the universe is gone from you. This is the way he was born, in total darkness. There was no light anywhere. Out of the total orbit of the universe of darkness, there sparkled an atom of light once upon a time. But don't ask me when it was. How could the atom of life make a record of its own creation? Now you're getting spooky. See, when we're saying it's like, okay, this bed, my being, the light in this room, the books, everything that we know of creation, where did it come from? Everything that's a whole came from a fraction. Cut it in half. I don't care what it is. You take an iron, you take a car, cut it in half. And cut that half in half. And you cut that half in half. And you keep cutting it in half. And you reduce it down to the smallest part. What do you get? You get a tiny little atom of iron. Okay. And where did that come from? It basically come from an atom of hydrogen. Okay. Where did that come from? Well, that came from a baby atom or a proton or what we call a quark. I mean, a positron. Now, I mean, a baby atom. Okay. Where did that come from? That came from what we call energy. Where did that come from? Well, energy comes from energy. It's called the mind of man. It has no beginning. Where do energy exist? It exists everywhere. It has no beginning or end. It has no weight or dimension. Now you're dealing with al-haq. Now you're dealing with reality. What do the Holy Quran teach us about God and his creation? The Holy Quran teaches us in chapter 22, verse 6, Allahu ana al-haq. The God is the reality. Now, if you stick with reality, you're sticking with God, the true and living God, not a spook nor a spirit. Okay. Imagine, you close your eyes now. Imagine the whole entire visibility of the universe is gone from you. This is the way he was born, in total darkness. There was no light anywhere. Out of the total orbit of the universe of darkness, there sparkled an atom of life once upon a time. But don't ask me when it was. How could that atom of life make a record of its own creation? It could not write its own creation, the record of it, because he was the first. There was no recorders around him. See, it's different. If I want to start, I remember we used to hold our own Nation of Islam called Universal Nation of Islam Olympics. And I mean, it was me, different fruit. I remember General Yahya, Daoud from Jamaica. I mean, Jamaicans can run. Daoud, that dude can run. But I used to like play with him like, I'm gonna beat you. So I'm on the line with Daoud. Now I mean, I got this Jamaican next to me. He like, Prime, you know I'm great smoke. Yeah, right. You know what I mean? We take off. He smoked me. I admit. I lost. Because I'm in a race with him. Now, imagine me at the front line. I'm first. I'm by myself. I run. I can't lose. I'm the only one running. But if I have a competitor, I can mathematically measure my length and distance and speed and rate to his. And the truth is like, yo, that guy outraced me. I mean, that guy outraced me. But if I'm in a race by myself, if you're the first, if you're the first one to produce the atom, and you're taking that atom and producing the sun, and you spark that sun 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 850,000 miles in diameter, 426,500 miles is half the diameter, 426,500 times 2 equals that diameter, 850,560 miles. If you was to take the mathematics, be like, okay, light travels 186,000 miles per second. We're 93 million miles away from the planet Earth, 150 million miles, or 150 million kilometers away from that sun. So it takes that sun like 8 minutes and 20 seconds, or exactly 500 seconds for them photons or them rising lights to melanate the melanin inside our body. We know the mathematics of that. We understand the reality of that. But Messenger Elijah Muhammad teaches us you can't go to that origin and say, okay, we know how the Creator created himself. Nah, that's not what we're talking about. We know how God created himself. There's a difference in our lexicon. When we say God, we're talking about the original man, black man, human beings. The original man is the Asiatic black man that made it on the cream of the planet Earth, God of the universe. We can trace that. But when it comes to the mind of man, we like, oh no, we don't waste our time with that. Now you get into outside the realm of mathematics. Okay? So the message said, out of the total orbit of the universe of darkness, there sparkled an atom of life once upon a time. But don't ask me when it was. How could that atom of life make a record of its own creation? So you got guys building in the cipher talking about, yeah, I know how the original man. No, you don't. You're either naive or you're lying or you're mistaken. Now, I mean, most people, in my opinion, are mistaken. And one of the reasons that they make that mistake, when you hear them teach the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you'll see a difference. You'll notice, like, when I teach the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'm telling you where the messenger said whatever. I don't care what subject it is. I'm going to teach you the messenger teaches on that. When you hear brothers and sisters and ministers and captains and lieutenants teaching the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and they're giving their narrative, and they're not telling you where the messenger taught that, when the messenger taught that, that's from themselves. And they unintentionally make mistakes when they do that. Because now they run it with hadiths, sayings. This is what they're saying. They're mixing their Christian stuff, their Sunni stuff, their science stuff, their school stuff with the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad and just assuming that it's true. You have to put the messenger teachings together. You have to keep a law in the person of Master Muhammad and his messenger, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, out front. You got to give the people their teachings, not our own. Okay? So, the messenger said it could not write its own creation, the record of it, because he was the first. There was no recorders around him. He was first to record his own self. How long was that? We can't tell. Whew, the Lamb is the Lamb. Listen, let me quote him again. How long was that? We can't tell. We weren't there. I'm not saying we weren't there. I'm quoting the messenger. He said, we weren't there. Okay? Now, when was that? We don't know. You hear FY and MGT talking about representing the messenger, direct raw teachers, the messenger inspired me, the messenger told me this in 1930, he told me this in 19... All these hadiths, all these sayings, all this bull crap going around. The messenger said this. He said, how long was that? We can't tell. We weren't there. We had to wait until the atom of light. Listen up, listen up. I wrote a book called 24 Sparks, and I wrote a chapter called Which Came First, the Mind or the Man? And I break this whole science down. When I say I break this whole science down, I ain't talking about me doing some wisdom of my own. I'm saying I'm giving you the direct quotes directly from Messenger Elijah Muhammad on which came first, the mind or the man, showing and proving that the mind had to come first. People are like, oh, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It's real simple. The egg came before the chicken. Duh. The fraction comes before the whole. Duh. We deal with mathematics. If it's not mathematics, it's not Islam. It's not the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Okay? So, how long was that? We can't tell. We weren't there. He was the only one in the whole entire dark universe. He had to wait until the atom of life produced brains to think what he needed. He had to wait until the atom of life produced brains to think what he needed. A brain cell is called a neuron. It generates a power equal to 1/70,000th of a volt of electricity. A brain cell and a thought are things. Master Muhammad told us in the problem books that thoughts travel 24 billion miles per second. Thoughts can't travel unless they are things. If thoughts were immaterial, they couldn't travel 24. There would be no measurement. But the fact that we can measure it means that we can calculate it. We can give you the electrical charge of it. 1/70,000th of a volt of electricity. Surely the angels of Allah is teaching the facts. He had to wait until the atom of life produced brains to think what he needed. How long was that? The messenger says, quote, I don't know, brothers. I don't know, brothers. That's page number 40. I'll say it as around 1974, his last holy book. He said, I don't know. If a student of his, an MGT, an FOI, told Pastor Jennings that they knew, they are mistaken. I ain't gonna say they're lying. I'm saying they mistake because they wouldn't intentionally lie. It's just that a lot of times we get taught by teachers that are teaching their teachings instead of the teachings of Messenger Elijah Muhammad. Okay, I'm gonna leave it at that. How long was that? I don't know, brothers. But he was a black man coming out of total darkness at that time. We all could say that we're produced by a white God, but there was no light, nor even any white anywhere. There was all darkness, so God revealed to me. In that darkness, which had no end to it there, that darkness created an atom of light. And the color had to be black as there was no light. Therefore, it had to be the color of the thing that created it. All praises due to Allah. I tell you, fam, you know what? I'm not even going to read this little corny chapter from me. I'm going to leave you with the messenger teachers. You know what I mean? I'm going to leave y'all with the messenger teachers on that X factor, the unknown. Now, I mean, remember, the messenger's message will guide you through this age of mess. I've been teaching these teachings for over 40 years now. And I don't want you to mistake me like I'm something special, like I'm the one. No, I'm getting it from Message to the Black Man, Fall of America, Al Sayers Around, How to Eat to Live, The Theology of Time. Now, I mean, the lessons, the messengers, the original tapes and albums and records of the messenger himself. Study the messenger's original teachers. Don't think them teachers is old and outdated. Oh, we need to change them. No, the messenger said in How to Live, leave my teachers as it is, you spooky fool. I mean, these teachers, he explained to us in the divine sayings, he said, wisdom is independent of anyone. Of course you can learn from me because I can learn from you. You think I can't learn from a GCC, a junior FOI, a MGT, an FOI? You could be a private soldier. And I try to learn every day if I can. I learn from Christians, atheists, white people, educational, intellectuals, Afrocentric, Moors. I love Marcus Garvey. I learn from Dr. Umar. I learn from anybody. I mean, you have to build in this day and time. But at the same time, you know, it's like when you have that ability to pick things up and build with it, you need your wrecking ball to knock down that which ain't mathematics, that which ain't conducive to your foundation, that which ain't conducive to your building. Now, I mean, you have to destroy sometimes, but you always want to keep it respectful, and you always want to keep a